The Shanghai government plans to reopen on June 1st, while at the end of May, residents of many districts in Shanghai were attacked by termites. Shanghai residents commented, "Termites are one step ahead of the resumption of work." The topic of termites was once on the top search list on the Chinese internet. From May 29th to the 31st, many people in Shanghai were attacked by termites in their homes or offices. Especially when the lights were turned on at night, the termites swarmed to the lights. On May 29th, Shanghai Property Service hotlines and other hotlines received nearly 1,500 calls for advice and assistance on termite control. A Taiwanese artist was live streaming at his home when termites kept stealing the show by getting in front of the camera. The artist could barely speak properly. He kept trying to catch termites on camera. As he was speaking, one termite got onto his wife. She was frightened, screaming, "Ah, it's getting into my body, ah." Shanghai netizens say that these are not only termites, but there are also many large cockroaches on the streets, crawling onto people's shoes. There are also concerns that mosquitoes and flies might be more aggressive in Shanghai in 2022 than in previous years. Radio Free Asia reported that a doctor from the Shanghai Center for Disease Control and Prevention introduced that Shanghai used to conduct mosquito and fly surveillance in March, early spring mosquito and fly control in April, and rainwater well spraying in May every year. However, due to the impact of outbreak lockdown this year, mosquito and fly surveillance was suspended and workers can't do their work properly, missing the best period for mosquito and fly control in early spring. Vector control is more difficult than in previous years. There are 54 termite control companies in Shanghai that undertake extermination work. However, due to the outbreak, many professional treatment and control staff may still be under lockdown. People in Shanghai consider the appearance of termites to be a preemptive resumption of work. This is because on May 30th, under great pressure from the stagnant economy, the Shanghai government suddenly announced to lift the lockdown. The government announced that starting from June 1st, it would enter the stage of fully resuming work and production and resuming normal production and life order, and would cancel the approval and review of businesses' resumption of work and production to ensure that their employees could commute to work normally.
Starting on June 1st, Shanghai will fully resume the operations of companies, parks, and buildings with strict epidemic management. Normal travels will be allowed among companies and communities in areas not affected by the epidemic. Those working in enterprises with epidemic risks should continue to work from home or commute only between workplaces and homes.
According to the government announcement, access to residential areas in Shanghai has resumed since June 1st. With the exception of medium and high-risk zones, closed controlled zones, and controlled zones, the neighborhood committees and property companies in each district shall not restrict the access of residents living in the community for any reason. Although the notice does not mention the word lifting the lockdown, it is essentially the same as lifting the 2-month-long lockdown since March 28th. We were placed in quarantine due to the barriers before. It was pretty closed up. Now, after removing all these barriers, the view is so comfortable. I am very excited, and I am very happy to resume work tomorrow. My compound is open, so I came out today and saw a barber providing haircuts on the street. So I came to get a haircut. I haven't had a haircut in over 3 months. I feel really uncomfortable. Now that I've had my haircut, I'm more at ease. I'm quite relieved that the lockdown is going to be lifted. There were more than 10 neighborhoods in Shanghai resisting the lockdown previously. According to the policy, these neighborhoods without infections should have been unlocked after May 16th. Now the only one who restricts our access is the law enforcer. The law enforcer must produce relevant legal documents and papers. Adding more layers to the regulations is absolutely not acceptable. President Xi repeats, people first. People's rights are first. Human rights must not be violated.
We want freedom. Yes, we want freedom.
We abide by the law. We will not do anything that violates the law and exceeds our rights. We have told you guys everything. If you want to vent, just vent. We implore the sub-district office to show us the documents that restrict our access to the premises. We kindly ask the district government to show us the document that restricts the residents of the precautionary zone from leaving the neighborhood, please. The previous video shows a protest by residents from a prominent wealthy neighborhood in Shanghai. According to the government's latest announcement, the entire city is basically unlocked, except for the medium and high-risk zones, the closed and controlled zones, and the controlled zones. It means that about 22.5 million of the city's 25 million people can regain their freedom. The unexpected announcement has made many citizens ecstatic. Some netizens have analyzed the official emphasis on neighborhood committees not to restrict residents' access as a way to put the blame on the neighborhood committees. A netizen whose IP address is from Shanghai commented, "Our higher government is always wise and capable. It's all the subordinate sub-district offices that made the decisions on their own." Shanghai authorities did not say whether they would allow activities such as dining in restaurants, and there are no plans to reopen bars, movie theaters, and other leisure venues. Most students are still at home. It is also unclear whether businesses, stores, and supermarkets will have to continue to implement the closed-loop management system in order to reopen.
To be honest, I don't feel anything right now. Because there's nothing available, so I can only take a walk on the street. I don't feel any particular sense of freedom either.
At the same time, nucleic acid testing will become a new norm. Shanghai residents will be required to take a nucleic acid test every 2 to 3 days. Previously, several nucleic acid testing kiosks have already entered Shanghai's neighborhoods, and the so-called 15-minute nucleic acid test sampling circle is being constructed. It can be seen that the so-called lifting restrictions in Shanghai go by the order of economic importance of each industry. China's media, Caixin, has pointed out that nothing in the Shanghai launch has provided details on how many employees can have easy access to the neighborhood after June 1st. A community worker in Shanghai's Pudong New area said the current policy for access to the neighborhoods in the precautionary zone still requires a pass to enter and exit twice a week for 3 hours each time. Businesses resuming work are required to have documents stamped by the District Prevention and Control Office and a permit of resumption of work. Previously, officials required workers who resumed work to sleep in the factory and to be disinfected regularly, which was difficult for businesses. It is not yet known whether such controls will be lifted. Moreover, there are still neighborhoods classified by the municipal government as high risk, medium risk, closed control, and management control zones, which are still under lockdown. As of May 29th, there are still 637 closed control zones in Shanghai, involving a population of about 220,000 people. This means that even the companies that have been approved to resume work and production can't actually fully resume, because there are still obstacles and many different links in a city's supply chain. Shanghai, with a population of 25 million, is the #1 economic center in China. The 2-month lockdown has devastated the economy, depriving many residents of income and making it difficult to even get food and medical assistance. The lockdown has affected more than just Shanghai or the Chinese people. In the major cities of China, middle-class parents long saw international schools as a way to improve their children's chances of winning a place at a top global university. With fees that can exceed $44,000 a year, the total annual value of tuition paid to international schools is estimated to be $8.2 billion. And international schools nationwide numbered 821 by 2019 in China. According to Reuters, a large number of foreign teachers are leaving China during the enrollment season, and school operators are finding it increasingly difficult to find their replacements due to the Communist Party's strict COVID-19 measures and ever-tightening education rules. According to data from separate studies conducted by the British Chamber of Commerce in China and the Association of China and Mongolia International Schools, around 40% of international teachers will leave their post in mainland China this year. In a normal year, the turnover for teachers sits around 15%.
Many heads have told me that they have been spending up to 300 hours or more trying to recruit teachers to come to China. But now, people around the world have been reading about the lockdowns and just don't feel a need to subject themselves to that. So they take jobs elsewhere.
But now that we're in the 2022 recruiting season, what we're finding a new pattern emerging of teachers and leadership and basically all constituents in international schools are choosing to leave China. So that candidate pool within the country has shrunk. So it's harder to recruit within China and it's hard to recruit outside of China. So that finding quality staff has just been really tricky, particularly in this recruiting cycle.
As head of early learning at an international school in Guangzhou, Alexa Moss warns that not all schools will survive China's pursuit of zero COVID.
But then we have things happening like in Shanghai right now, where the tensions are high and the stress level is high. And I have a feeling that will end up resulting in both families, enrolled students, and teachers wanting to leave the country.
The European Union Chamber of Commerce in China, or EUCCC, released a survey on May 5th showing that China's attractiveness to European companies has greatly diminished, and the tough business environment has led to nearly a quarter of companies to consider leaving China. And the number of companies thinking of leaving has doubled in 2 months. The rate of European companies wanting to leave has reached a 10-year high. Chinese Premier Li Keqiang urgently convened a teleconference with 100,000 officials on May 25th, with the theme, Stabilizing the Economy Nationwide. Some analysts believe that the most important reason for Li Keqiang's high-profile statement to save the economy this time around is that he has seen the leaving footsteps of foreign investors. The leading economic index for China, released by the conference board on May 26, continued to fall in April, down 1.0%, surpassing the 0.4% drop in March. This is an indicator of increasing risks for the Chinese economy heading for a downturn, with stringent anti-epidemic restrictions as one of the contributing factors. We have seen that the world has concentrated too much of its production base in China in the past, and this risk is clearly evident in the Shanghai Grand Lockdown. Initially, China became the world's factory, relying on low wages. The land price in China has risen exponentially, causing production costs to be higher than they already are. The Communist Party's policy on the outbreak is still based on a dynamic zero approach, which puts the city in a dilemma. If the economy is to be activated, people and goods must be allowed to move freely, and a lockdown will certainly hurt the economy. When an outbreak resumes, the city is likely to go back to a lockdown. This will not give foreign companies the assurance that they can operate with peace of mind. So will there be another major outbreak in Shanghai, or are there other disasters on the horizon? These are things that the Chinese Communist Party has no control over at all.